This is general awareness training as always. You'll get this once a year, so please pay attention. There will be a quiz, and the quizzes are being graded now, so we need to make sure that you do a good job on them. So in this training, I'll go over what radiation is, how it relates to the X-ray devices that we use in this plant, what those hazards are, what the requirements and responsibilities for the safe use of those devices are, and we're going to help you recognize and respond to unsafe conditions. In a nutshell, radiation is energy in the form of waves or particles. A high enough radiation level can cause ionization, and that is ionizing radiation. That includes particles and rays that are giving off by radioactive materials, the stars, the moon, high voltage equipment. Ionizing radiation includes X-rays, gamma rays, beta particles, alpha particles, and neutrons. The thing that we're going to pay attention to today is X-rays. We want to make sure that you're protected from them, you understand them, you know how to work around them. So without the use of monitoring equipment, humans are not able to find or notice ionizing radiation. You can't feel it or see it or taste it or hear it. So there has to be special monitoring equipment, and we'll go over that as well. What are X-rays? X-rays are a form of electromagnetic radiation. They can travel long distances through air. They can travel through a lot of different types of materials. It requires shielding to reduce their intensity, and all of our machines that use X-rays have lead lining to protect you from the effects of X-rays. X-ray were discovered in 1895. All right, so they've been around a long time. We have learned how to work with them and how to protect you from them. X-rays are often used for non-destructive testing. Non-destructive testing, or NDT, has been around a long time. Basically, an X-ray beam can go through material, product packaging, and things like that. And for instance, we use it here to help find foreign material in our food products. X-ray effects on the body, radiation effects on the body, normally happen in one of two different ways. You can get an acute dose, which is a large dose that you get very quickly. That acute dose causes a physical reaction due to massive cell damage. All right, you get just a huge amount of radiation in a very short period of time. The body cannot repair or replace those cells fast enough. Does a lot of damage to you, including death. A chronic radiation dose is a small amount of radiation received over a long period of time. We kind of all are exposed to chronic radiation because there are several types of radiation we receive around us all the time. We get radiation from getting X-rays. We get radiation from the stars. We can get radiation from gases leaking out of the ground. There's a lot of different ways that you can get radiation. As long as it is a small dose that you get a little bit at a time over a long period of time, it's usually not too harmful because your body can regenerate those cells, and usually it's not fatal or doesn't do a lot of damage to your body. All right, the effects of X-ray exposure depend upon three things. The first one is duration, how fast the dose is delivered or how long of a dose you get. The next one is energy, right? How much energy was in the X-ray. Low energy just usually does a little bit of damage to your skin or the outer part of your body, and a high energy dose can damage your internal organs. And then the third thing it depends on is the total dose, the magnitude of the dose, how long it was there. The duration and the energy combined give you the magnitude of the dose. All right, unsafe conditions when you're working around X-ray devices, especially in this plant. So The door interlocks don't work. In other words, if a door happens to come open and the machine does not shut down, then X-ray can escape past the shielding of the door. All right. It can also be that the shielding has been damaged or a viewing window is cracked. If you notice any unsafe condition with your X-ray device, your X-ray machine, stop the work immediately. Turn the power off and notify your supervisor or line mechanic immediately. If a door won't stay closed, if any of the guarding, any of the shielding, anything is wrong with that machine, you need to let your supervisor or line mechanic know immediately so we can get it repaired. There are three basic ways that we detect radiation. The first one, we do radiation surveys. Once a year, the manufacturer of the company comes in, they have specialized equipment, they do thorough testing on the machines to make sure that no X-ray is escaping from the machine. We also have strict mechanical inspections and repairs. So, as I just said a minute ago, we have to know if anything's wrong so that we can get it fixed immediately. Employees recognizing and reporting the issues is the best way that we can detect a potential radiation leak and get it fixed immediately. In the event that you are working somewhere where you could potentially be exposed to radiation, there are three basic ways to protect yourself from that. The first one is time. All right, so the dose of radiation a worker receives is directly proportional to the amount of time spent in the radiation field. So basically, if you're not in a radiation field or a radiation area for very long, your dose will be minimal. All right, distance is just like time. The closer you are to a radiation source, the more exposure you're likely to get. So, working farther away from any radiation source is the very best thing you can do. Radiation exposure decreases rapidly as the distance between the worker and the X-ray device increases. So the third and most important way to protect ourselves from radiation is shielding or guarding. So the X-ray machines that we have on site here all have very good shielding, lead lined. There's no way that the radiation or the X-ray can escape the cabinet unless there is a problem with a interlock or an access door or a guard or a viewing window. Once again, employee reporting the problem is the very best way that you can protect yourself and your coworkers from any exposure to radiation from our X-ray equipment. So the devices that we have in our facility are called cabinet X-ray machines. We currently have 13 of these devices. There's one on every line. For those of you who may not know, there's a conveyor that brings the material in one side, it goes through the X-ray, and it goes out the other side. And it happens in milliseconds. So these machines are taking an X-ray every few milliseconds to make sure that there are no foreign bodies in any of the packaging that we send out. As I mentioned before, the safety features on these devices, they are lead lined. They have interlock switches and they have guarding. So the lead lined insulation will only help us if we make sure the interlock switches work, the guards are on and the doors are locked. You know, the display window isn't cracked. There's no way X-ray or radiation can escape this cabinet unless we don't pay attention to what's going on and we don't fix problems that come up quickly and immediately. So I've talked quite a little bit about the effects of radiation and X-ray on the body. I've talked about how we have safety devices in place to keep you safe and protected from it as long as you follow the procedures and make sure that you let us know if there's any issues with those. All right. To top everything off, we have a radiation program, and that program is in place to ensure all radiation producing devices are inspected, repaired, and they work properly. We have an inventory of all those devices, and they're inspected annually by the manufacturer, and our maintenance department inspects them for leakage or other safety issues on a regular basis. Once again, and the final time, it is up to you to let us know if there is any problem with an x-ray machine, especially a guard is bent or broken or won't latch or close, an interlock switch on a door isn't working so the door can open without shutting the machine down, things of that nature. The only way radiation can escape those x-ray cabinets is if we don't pay attention and let something bad happen. All right, so help me out. Make sure you're checking your machine and your equipment. Make sure that everything works properly and report it to your supervisor immediately. Excuse me, immediately if it doesn't. All right, so you got to take the quiz now. 10 questions. Quizzes are being graded. Please give them your full attention. I appreciate the time and the effort and energy and patience that you guys give me on these awareness training. They're very important. They're here to keep you aware and educated, and mostly they're here. Excuse me. Mostly they're here to keep you safe. All right. I appreciate it. Do a good job on the quiz, guys. Thanks.